We are alive.
Oh, Hapa S3VYN. What's up, buddy?
We were just disgusting. We were just discussing the
We were just
finite.
disgusting.
We were a little disgusting. The fine audio job that Mr. Seven is capable of doing, and how he blew me away with the size. Because size does matter, if you're listening and or watching, of the audio file that you guys are currently hearing running in the background, which is the beautiful sounds of a busy cafe, which I think is probably, in my opinion, the best background noise that you could have in a podcast.
Yeah,
or in audio.
I like
it's just,
the.
you know.
It's funny because you were like, "Hey, send me the file for this." And I was like, "Sure," and I forgot that I had used this file as an uncompressed backing track, and that's where I got it. And so
That's
I was
pretty
like,
legit.
"Sure, I'll send that over to you." And we use a Google Drive, and so I go to drag it. And it was like, what? It was like barely. It's 6 gig.
Let's just say I'm glad I have a 2 terabyte hard drive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, that was a shot. That's a tough.
I mean,
one.
a lot of people say
Fine
that
flex.
audio doesn't take up much space, but well,
Yeah, most people ain't me.
how you
The
doing,
most
man?
meaningless. I'm good. The most meaningless audio file I have in my library is 6 gig. I'm fine.
It's not meaningless.
Everything's good.
It's the background drop for our podcast.
That's true. Yes, it is. But happy Tuesday.
Jeez.
It is February the 13th, 2024, the year of our Lord 2024. Can you believe it's already February the 13th?
No.
No.
Nope.
Me either. But we are doing a podcast 2 weeks post our previous podcast. I'm pretty proud of
Is
us.
this 2 episodes we did on schedule?
It is. And it's becoming a trend.
Is
I'm
this
worried.
habit forming? Is this?
It might be. Maybe. Do I actually have my life somewhat under enough control to commit to something 2 weeks out? Is
Let's
that
go
what's
ahead and
happening?
calm down. Let's just calm down right
Yeah,
now.
that might be
let's-
that might be much. Yeah.
We
might be.
were here, and then you went to here, and you need to bring it back down. All right.
Gotta bring it back down. Whoa,
What you got there, buddy?
that's new. That's brand new.
Did it evaporate off your tongue as you?
Mel got something new, and she's like, "Hey, try this." So I'm.
We've had the discussion about how Seven's wife is trying, though not admitting, that she is trying to in fact collect a life insurance.
She's 100% trying to collect life insurance, and she's got to make it look deniable. And this it was a step in the right
Very well.
direction.
I imagine Mel holding one of those Acme poison jugs. It's just a big mason jug with like the poison skull and bones on it.
I will tell you, it's not bad, but it is much like licking the inside of a fuel tank of an F-16 fighter. It is.
I have nothing to gauge that off of. I can't.
That was
Ooh,
hot. It
ooh. Can I show you? I learned something at Garrison Brothers. Do you want to know how you properly taste as the sommeliers taste whiskey?
hit. I would love to know.
Okay, so you take your whiskey in hand, as one does, and
Okay.
you gently and slightly open your mouth, and then you
Okay.
stick your nose in the glass, and you breathe in through your nose and your mouth at the exact
your
same
mouth.
time.
Yeah.
And then, after you take a deep, inhale of it, right? You take a little bit on the back side of your tongue, and then you kind of go on your tongue. Yeah. Go, you know you want to do it. And then swallow it,
Okay.
and it should kind of permeate
Okay.
flavor-wise.
Okay. All right. Yeah, the whiskey ain't bad. I'm not complaining about the whiskey. Just surprised.
What is it?
It was not a. So she comes home with a bottle of something. It's a blended bourbon from Utah.
Okay.
She saw this bottle on the shelf and she's like, "Hi West, I'm in." So she grabs this bottle. It's a blended bourbon from Utah. It's not bad. First time I've tried it, literally just opened the bottle and has an actual wood cork in it, which is kind of nice.
That's
you lose
crazy.
a lot of that. It's a lot of synthetics and plastics and stuff now, so that was kind of nice. Good flavor, good flavor. I think much finish this off and see what we think. But my throat feels better, so definitely some grandpa's old cough medicine. Why are we talking about me? What do you have tonight?
my thing is just like you mentioned blended whiskey from Utah, and all I imagine is some Mormons just like pouring a bunch of stuff in a vat. Like
I picked up the bottle, so I was gonna try it the other night and decided not to. So I pick up the bottle and I'm like, let me look at what it is. I had not looked at it. I was like,
sure.
Blended bourbon. I was like, and it said Utah, and I was like, huh?
Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Are you guys allowed to have bourbon in Utah? Is that
open that up? See what
did
happens.
It go
yeah.
When you
all my
it?
oh yeah, all my northern Kentucky friends and coworkers, the spider senses went off. They have no idea why.
Yeah, it's like a million voices screamed in the darkness.
and we're suddenly silenced. So what are you having to drink tonight?
So I've always we
this
definitely didn't even start like this ever.
This is my favorite start.
I'm a huge fan of Makers. I've always liked Makers. It's just like a daily, if you're gonna have a glass, like a sipper.
Yep.
And they had Maker's Mark French Oak. They call it French Oaked. It just is finished in French oak barrels.
Gotcha.
And it's got just the teeny tiniest, imagine bourbon with just a teeny tiniest bit of hint of smoke to it. And it's actually really good. I am not a fan of Scotch or peaty whiskeys, but if they have just a hint of it, I'm okay with it. So this is not bad.
Yeah, I can get behind a rye. I can get behind something like this, which is a pretty sharp whiskey. I tend to bail out on single malts, right, when it's really peaty. And I'm like you. I have a daily. It's Woodford, right? It's just an easy. Yeah. You can go daily. Maker's Mark is great. That sounds like a pretty good take on Maker's Mark, though. That sounds good. Haven't had it. It sounds good.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I think just regular Makers is good for me, or Makers Reserve is actually really good too. But
Makers
Reserve, this one's different, a little different.
Well, cool.
Cool.
Well, today we're going to do a podcast. If you're listening to us, you can always catch us live on YouTube. We are live if we respond to chat. Howdy, folks in chat. Thank you for being here. We tend not to respond to punch in chat. We may do that more tonight, given the subject matter. So these podcasts can be found wherever you are. We have folks all over the world listening to us. Again, shout out to our fans in Jamaica. We want to come see you. Find a way to make it happen. We'll come down and hang out. Do our podcast there. We were talking about recording a podcast on the beach. How much fun that would be. So you can find us anywhere you get podcasts, but also you can find us on YouTube. So, if you're on YouTube watching right now, appreciate you being here live. If you're on a podcast and you're listening, check us out on YouTube sometime, and you can hang out and chat. Maybe even we'll mention you on the podcast. Yeah. So tonight we're doing something a little bit different than what we normally do. So if you've been around the podcast some, you know that our format is we have a series of current events that we've gone and found in the news, and we talk kind of specifically about those events. Now, a lot of times they revolve around space, science. That's a common nerd point for us. Occasionally we get into other things, environmental, food, right? There's a lot of things that we kind of have as repeating subjects. If you have been looking at the news lately, you know how hard it is to find subjects that we would actually want to talk about, because we are two friends having a good time having a conversation. We don't want to pollute that with some of the stuff that's in the news. Now, I will be honest, Hapa and I have had a lot of those conversations not on podcast and not on stream. Those are for me and Hapa only. But but it's not the kind of thing that we really want to make, a big conversation about. But that is the entire news cycle. So we have a little bit different format tonight. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence in video games. There was a really good article that you had, I think it was on IGN. We'll talk about that. We're going to be talking about the streaming services and the use of advertisements. And I think that you put that in there just to trigger me, so thanks. And then, if I'm not so triggered that I go for 2.5 hours on that one subject yelling, we'll be talking about the impact of plastic beads on Mardi Gras, which, once you hear it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense, but it's not something I'd ever thought about. So there is some impact there we're going to talk about. Then we'll go into what you watch in Hapa. We'll do, what you're listening to, 7. We'll talk about what we've been playing. And then we're going to do something a little bit different with our Hapa's rules. And we're going to go, if you were here for the last podcast, Hapa actually got through his list of rules, and we're going to go back to the top of those rules, and we're going to start talking about where they came from and just have some, real life conversations about what those rules are to each of us and what those meant in our lives. And, and I think that'll be a fun set of conversations to have. So does that sound good to you, my man?
Yeah, man. Seven and I have talked about this before. We kind of already knew. I suppose I didn't count on topics being this rough, even in 2024, the election, stuff that's going on and everything. I thought that you would be able to find it. And I'll tell you right now, like, for those of you out there listening, or if you're watching on YouTube, like, we have a lot of sites that we delve into looking for news. And I have 6 different news websites that they don't even do news based around like people. Like, it's one of them is science news, one of them's geekdom, one of them's like all this stuff, and you'll go through and you read it, and even those sites, sometimes their news is like 2, 3, 4 weeks old, because I figure they are having problems finding news topics to talk about. So bear with us. I don't think that this is bad, that Seven and I don't necessarily pull directly from articles. We just have a discussion based off of our what we think, which I think tonight's going to be mostly focused around that. I did send Seven a couple articles, but to be honest with you, I was like, I already knew these conversations were going to organically happen, so I wasn't too worried about like quoting from the article or whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, I'm super excited.
Hapa on the news front. I don't know if you saw, and this is not on our list to talk about, but I don't know if you saw, but Jon Stewart rejoined The Daily Show yesterday.
Oh, did he?
He did. On Mondays only, from what I understand.
Interesting.
But if you haven't seen it, you should. I think you in particular should, based on conversations we've had. And what I think I realized is the world needs Jon Stewart. And on The Daily
for
Show.
sure. Yeah.
There's a certain amount of just hilarious sanity that comes out of watching a program like that and the way that he does it. So you should go watch that. And I was like, oh man, this is where we got off on the insane timeline, because people can't be funny about everything anymore. And he's right back to it. I will tell you, he hasn't lost a step, right? The guy's amazing. So so go check that out. And I'm maybe the power of Jon Stewart compels us. Maybe the news cycles will break apart and thaw a little bit, and we'll get some really kind of that alternate news that we've always liked back in there. But I will say, failing that, I agree with you. I think we're going to have a lot of fun talking about these things. It's something that I think over time we will do more of. We will have current events, and we're going to have subjects that we just come back to, and we've talked about having interesting conversations about historical events, and I think that could be a lot of fun. So it's a new way of doing it. We're going to see how it goes. Sure. I think it'll be a lot of fun. We'll see how it goes. But y'all, along for the ride, all you folks. But if you're looking for your news, if you're depending on us as your source of news,
I'm for sure.
For everything that went wrong in your life that led to that moment.
We're about the biggest parody you could possibly have on news, let's be honest.
We are not a dependable source of anything except whiskey recipes.
I could definitely whip up some good drinks, not gonna lie. I might not be able to tell you whether an old-fashioned is an old-fashioned with brandy or... No, that's not true. I can tell you.
No. We have voted.
We have voted.
We have voted. It's not an old-fashioned with brandy.
It could be a what was the capital of Wisconsin again? I don't even remember. Madison. It could be a Madison. We can call it a Madison. But we won't call it an old-fashioned, damn it.
That was not intentional disrespect, right? You actually had forgotten
I literally had forgotten it. I mean, does anybody really know the capital of Wisconsin? I mean, come on.
I was like, he's throwing shade at Wisconsin over this brandy old-fashioned. I'll forget all about your damn state.
You're dead to me. There's 49 states.
You were never a real state anyway.
Look, man. I barely remember what the capital of like the state I grew up in or Texas is. So it's like whatever. And I live here, so you know.
You actually live in the capital of that state.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like, what is it? I have no idea.
Oh.
Anyway.
Goodbye.
Yeah. What do we have for dinner?
Right, so...
That's more important.
Oh, okay. So let's introduce this. It is more important. Dinner is. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about this first subject. And you know, the kind of way I title it is AI in video games good or bad thing? And I am gonna dig way into this. So why don't you introduce it kind of from your standpoint, what you were thinking when you said, hey, let's talk about this, and we can dig into it.
So there's two conversations that really should occur around this topic, because I'm talking. There's a couple things I meant to elicit with this topic. Is one, the topic that I know you're going to talk about, which is the developers are actually AI. Like they're using AI to develop games. What I'm talking about is a little bit more in line with connecting AI in a game. So you literally might have an NPC that literally reacts to the environment, or even your dialogue lines, or whatever's going on, to create a more in-depth experience in the game, right? And I think both of those are kind of important things to talk about. But yeah, so let me hear your take. Where are you at on this?
So maybe to give some, a point of reference, I've been in software engineering for 30 years, and it's been interesting to watch over the past very recent future as people start talking about AI and more practically talking about ChatGPT pretty specifically and how it impacts the software engineering world. So everything from, it can write tests, right, that test our software it, it can answer questions for developers who are, asking a question. Look, software developers use Stack Overflow for everything anyway. So your best developers at some point in 2001 or 2002 just got really good at Google, and now it turned into Stack Overflow sometime in the 2010, 2011, 2012 timeframe. Stack Overflow is a site where developers answer other developers' questions, and so that became like the thing. And then now you've got kind of ChatGPT, where people just ask ChatGPT, how should I achieve this in code? And what's really interesting when you see that is, if you've seen it enough at this point, you can spot it. So that's a thing. But what has blown me away, and this is something you and I have definitely talked about, but what has blown me away is how much people will depend on it. And what I mean by that is, you're talking about an engineering discipline, right? An engineering discipline by nature is creative, meaning it creates something. It is designed to create a thing. Mechanic maintains, engineer creates, and there's a big difference between those. And when the human being is out of it and the machine is creating, why do I need the human being anymore? So that's where a lot of fears are coming from, where people are like, oh my God, ChatGPT is going to take over the world and AI and whatever. And some people are literally just using it in a way that becomes really obvious, and their code and their things they're doing, their solutions are uncreative. And so there is the ubiquity, I think, has caught a lot of people off guard, right? It's been a few years in the making, depending on where you stand in the world of technology. You've known about it for an amount of time. It's just gotten to a point where people are using it more, and people are coming out of schools now, and they obviously used AI, ChatGPT, whatever, to graduate school. And now they believe that that's how they do their work. And it is really, truly impacting how software gets built. So, having said all of that context, here's what I will say. There's a game that came out recently, and I do not know if this is the truth or not, but there was a game that came out recently. I have some friends who really love it. I have some people in chat who really love this game. But when the game came out, and I was talking to our buddy Deacon and I was talking to Hapa, one of the things I said was, this is a game that ChatGPT would have generated. So as someone who spends all my day, every single day, looking out for ChatGPT earmarks, right?
Yeah. Meaning,
I think that was not written by the human. I think that was written by ChatGPT. So I spent a lot of my time doing that. When this game came out, I was like, oh, that looks exactly like something ChatGPT made. Yeah. And then I had this case of a little bit of moral dilemma, right? Because so what? If people are enjoying it, so what? And now I'm in a real state of do I think that's a good thing or do I not think that's a good thing? I kind of want to have conversations about it. On one hand, I love when I see something like what Larian Studios did with Baldur's Gate 3 and spent years and years and years creating a nearly perfect work of art that only humans can dream and create. And on the other hand, a lot of the game studios suck and would have been better served by just asking ChatGPT what people wanted. Because a lot of the game studios, we know this, don't listen to their players.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
At least ChatGPT cares.
Yeah.
So, like, where do I stand on that? And then there is the other side of it. I'm gonna let you talk about that, right? I definitely have feelings about it, but the AI interacting inside the game, I think that is the fascinating. Like, to me, that is the superpower.
Yeah.
Right? That is where, oh my gosh, can you imagine how alive worlds like Cyberpunk 2077, let's say, could feel if these things were interacting in that way. Now, the problem is guardrails, right? Like, it can do anything it wants. It can say anything it wants.
Yeah.
I will point out for anyone listening, just before we get too far into the other subject, if you're a software engineer, you're a software developer, and you're talking about ChatGPT as a way to help you do your business, I'm not necessarily discouraging that, but I will warn you, if you don't have a private instance of this, everything you do, ask, upload, or track via ChatGPT is now public knowledge. There are people who have uploaded schematics for, say, microprocessors and asked ChatGPT a question about it. Those schematics were now public domain. So if you are planning on using it, please know the risks of using it. If you're going to use it for a company endeavor, please, for the love, figure out a way to get a private instance. And don't let everybody have your stuff because they out there looking for it. But yeah, so what do you think, Hapa, about what I've said, your opinions on that? And then, if you want to bleed into how it might manifest itself within the game, I'd love to hear that too.
I mean, so for me, one of the things that I'm hopeful for, I guess this is the cynical part of me because I don't believe that the greater good of it will occur, but like the idea that you might use AI as your QA, because we already see it regularly, in games specifically, where it just appears that QA is not occurring, or it's occurring, but X, Y, and Z, which is what the community sees as a problem or a bug or an issue, is getting put at the bottom of the list for ABC, whatever those rules are. So if it's capable of making the job smoother and making software design flow better to where you might not need to worry about QA issues, I'm all for it. And I'm obviously talking on the developer side of the house. What I'm worried about, and again, this is the cynical side of me, is that it's making us lazy. AI in general, across the board, it's already been proven in colleges and schools all over the country, at least here in the U.S., because let's be honest, okay? That college degree means nothing to probably, I would say 80% of the students in college. Like, it really doesn't. Whatever they're getting a degree in, whether that's upside down underwater basket weaving, right, or literal astronomical.
My degree.
Yeah, right. Or whether it's rocket science. Those guys, maybe it means something, but a lot of the folks that start college meaning well end college just because they feel they need to end college, and they don't even do a job based around the degree path that they had, right? It's just they've got a piece of paper. And so colleges are trying, or schools, I shouldn't say colleges, because I saw a freaking reel the other day where it was a high school professor calling out the students publicly that were obviously using ChatGPT to write essays and stuff, to the point where like some of his students, he was like, if you're going to copy and paste what ChatGPT says, you might want to remove the line at the beginning of the essay that says generated by ChatGPT, at least. Like, have the brains to do that. Yeah. So if the students don't even have the mindset to at least try to make it look like they're doing, like, why are we even entertaining education systems at this point, right? Like, and that's the thing that worries me. That's the cynical side of me, is that if AI is being used in development of software or games, that we're going to get so lazy and sloppy that it's just going to be a mess. Like, just everything's going to continuously get worse and worse. So
at some point it'll be homogenized, right? At some point,
yeah,
let's say there's 50 developers, game developers that go out there and they're going to make a game, and they all use ChatGPT. At some point, the games will be so similar,
right?
That we're going to have the pendulum swing the other way. And I'll throw a slight tweak on this subject out there and I want to get your feels on it, right? So there's a podcast I was listening to recently, and they were talking about that artificial intelligence is generating music. So here's what's really interesting to me. You know me, musician, right? I care about this stuff, and I believe music has a soul. And I believe a musician, to create a really good piece of music, they impart a part of their soul to that music.
Sure.
Now, electronic music has given us some really, 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 really firm patterns on how that music is made and popularized. I am not knocking electronic music. Having said that, there are bots out there which can generate quote unquote chill house electronic music. Why? Because it's an algorithm, right? It's an algorithmic beat. And in this podcast I was listening to, it was a really interesting conversation about, is that even music?
Right.
Or is that background noise? And I would be someone who would say that's not actually music. Right? So there's a moment of art protection, right? Anytime you look at a work of art, and I consider video games highest art form. You and I have talked about this.
Sure,
so
yeah.
Whether that's a movie, whether that's a painting, whether that's music, whether that's an image, whatever that might be, whatever that art is it art if something other than a human generated it? And what I will say is, to me, I want music generated by humans. I don't mind background noise generated by an algorithm. That I can live with that if I'm just in an office building and there's something playing in the background. But as far as my music appreciation self,
right.
I want the human being to create it. And I would say the same thing for video games. I would say the same thing for paintings. I would say the same thing for anything. I want something a human invested in, had the idea of, cared about, crafted, and delivered. And part of that is, I guess, to me, a bit of the social transaction that occurs with that. When I play a video game and I enjoy a video game and I buy a video game, whatever, I'm telling those developers, I think you did a fantastic job.
Right.
And if everything is ChatGPT and everything is AI, what are we?
Yeah, and for me, that's the thing that really worries me in the long term. I'm hopeful that humanity would wake up to its own bullshit, excuse the expression, but I mean, that's where we're headed, right? Because at least to me, it seems like as time goes on, if there's something that makes something easier, we're just going to do it. We won't ask the question, should we use this easier way? Like, should we, build this game or whatever using AI? Like, maybe this is a problem. And like Rita brings up a good example. I saw a video of a game where they had AI NPCs, and the NPCs, by nature of AI, because it's learning, it knows it's stuck in a construct of a video game, to the point where the game just started breaking down and crashing because essentially the game had a mental breakdown. Like, and so that's
it's scary, right? So there was a story, and I can't verify its historical accuracy, but it's a story that lives in my world, and I've heard it, where there's a Google engineer, and the Google engineer is working on translation software. So I want to translate English, or I want to translate Spanish to Japanese, let's say.
right.
So the way that works is your Rosetta Stone idea set, right? So you have, I know English. I can learn Spanish, I can learn Japanese. So what I do is I say, English is my Rosetta Stone. English is what I'm going to translate everything to first. Yeah. So I'm like, cool, you're speaking Spanish. I'm going to translate that to English, and then I'm going to translate that to Japanese. And so that's how traditionally human beings translate language.
Right.
That's how we taught machines to translate language. And so the story is that there was a Google engineer who was working on machine learning, right? And he was like, hey, I want the machines to learn how to translate, and I want a better translation engine because Google cares about this, and a lot of humans care about this. And so engineers like, cool, I'm gonna do this, sets the model loose on this translation, and it runs, and it begins to to speak in languages that the engineer doesn't recognize. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the language becomes fragmented and unrecognizable. And what had happened was the machines had decided that English was not a good enough or convenient enough or efficient enough Rosetta Stone, and it was just going to make its own language. And so the machines began to use to develop their own language. And of course, the engineer, in a moment of absolute wisdom, unplugged the damn thing. So it was a moment where it was like, no.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
thank you. Right?
Yeah,
The machines are talking to the machines in a language that we don't know. I don't know if that's
Because you're gonna get to a point where like you're gonna be like, okay, well, when we're gonna get nuked? Like, when are we gonna get nuked? Like, when is AI gonna be like, look, humans are in the way. Let's go ahead and remove them.
inefficient.
Yeah,
Right, they're meat bags. They're only good to
just
be batteries. Right? All the
exactly,
movies,
exactly.
they're excellent batteries. Really bad livestock.
Really
right? Like,
bad to have as livestock, yeah, for sure. Now that being said, though, the thing that I love and the idea of, and I sent a video, and I've quoted her before on the podcast. I've told Seven this before, but there's a girl out there. Her name's Alana Pierce, and she has been in games, journalism or game, whatever you want to call it, for years and years and years, and she has surprised me a few times with her insight and thought process. Like, case in point, when we talked about Twitch, essentially allowing, for all intents and purposes, porn on Twitch, but they'll just label it art. Like, it's just art.
Which is a
You're
big
fine.
win for my 13-year-old son thinks this is one of the greatest things that's ever been added.
I'm learning art. Like, yes.
Art class, Dad.
Which, and the thing that she brought up that I was like blown away, because I was kind of curious to see what her take on it was, is she had mentioned that, in her opinion, she was fine with it because a lot of the weirdos were going to get segmented into that art section, and when she streamed games, she didn't have to worry about as many of them coming to her stream. And I thought, okay, that's kind of an interesting take. But anyways, I digress. So the thing that she mentioned on here that really opened my eyes to this whole subject of AI and game dev is she had said, what if you are able to get AI to interact with programming to where it actually attaches AI to NPCs in a fashion that makes them react to their environment? So it could be as simple and innocuous as a group of NPCs walking down a sidewalk and it starts raining and they hold newspaper over their heads. Or, they may, as you're walking toward them, they may react to you coming towards them. Or, the lines of dialogue that you might have with an NPC, the developer could say, we don't care what you say necessarily to the player as long as you get to this end goal. And it may make a dynamic conversation actually occur in a game. And that, to me, the idea that you could open up a game like that, because everybody knows the games where you're like, you get choice A and B to say, and A is, happy, B is angry, and then you follow that flow chart. You know what I mean? And that's fine. We're used to that. It's been that way for years and years and years. But the idea of how much this can open up possibly a game, like you said, like Cyberpunk or any of those games like that, that could be pretty intense. Like, there's just a wealth of options there that could occur, and that's the part that I'm excited about, that I would like to see more so than the actual development itself. So
to me, what you're describing there, and I agree with you, is if you use AI as a replacement for your creativity, boo on you. If you use AI as an enhancer of your creativity, you got my attention, and I agree. So artificial intelligence in a game, one of the things that, if you're a gamer, been a gamer all my life, right? That's been 22 years. It's been, much longer than 22, but it has been a long time. And as long as I've been playing games, I'll tell you a story. I remember the first time I played an online game. It was Command and Conquer, and it worked over a dial-up modem, and I played with my cousin. And we had to play at night, right? Because we couldn't tie up the phone lines. And so late at night, we called each other and like, hey, you ready? Yeah, I'm ready. Cool. Hang up the phone, and in 10 seconds, I'm going to make my computer call your computer, and we're going to play Command and Conquer. It was the first time I had played a truly online PC game. And it was the first time I experienced having an opponent who thought.
Yeah.
Right? Because game developers, I've always had like algorithm-based, heuristic-based characters in games that you interact with, and they have a very preset script that they abide by.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about is this: over time, we haven't really gotten that far with those. So in video games, there's a game we'll talk about later that we've been playing. Great lines, great dialogue. Eventually, they repeat. Right? Eventually, you're talking to the NPCs, and they start doing the same thing over and over again. We haven't really gotten that far in that space. The way that characters interact with you in a video game is still pretty static, for the most part. And so if there are game developers out there, and I'm sure there are, who are looking at how do I create a living world, where you go interact with someone and it's always a different interaction. A, I think it's going to be really cool. B, I think some people are going to fall head over heels into that world and never come out of it. Right?
Yeah,
Because
that's the scary side of it, right? Yeah, for sure.
Right? Because already people are like, oh, I was talking to ChatGPT this whole time. Yes, you were.
Yeah.
And you thought it was real, right? Like, we're going to have that. But C, you're probably going to see what I think is an inevitability anyway, that video games are going to become the preferred medium of entertainment for the majority of society. Right? I think that there's going to come a point where video games are going to surpass movies. And it'll probably be around the time somebody actually gets crazy. And I promise you this, whoever figures this out, we will all be playing that video game. Every one of us. We'll be streaming it, we'll be playing it, we'll be hanging out in it, we'll be laughing about it.
Have you seen that movie, Her, with Joaquin Phoenix and I can't remember who does the voice, Scarlett Johansson. So that's the level.
Look at you sly dog.
I'm horrible with names, man. But like that's something I am concerned about for the future, that's gonna be where
100%.
we go, because we're already seeing the lack of human interaction in people in general. Like I 100% will call myself out on the guiltiness of, like, I hate people. I hate people. Like people can invite me out to a night. I'm gonna be like, are there gonna be people there? Yes. Then I'm good. No, I'll stay home. Like, because I just, 9 out of 10 people typically I just can't stand. And for me, one of the advertisements that has really resonated with me is it's just simple. It's somebody sitting at a table eating lunch or something, and you just hear the cacophony of voices. So like our background sound right now, but like turned up to max, just constantly. Yep. And they turn to do something, and then that just goes away. And like, that's, for a lot of people, that's how interaction with other people is. It's just too much stimuli nowadays. Now, we say that's too much stimuli while we sit at a computer listening to Spotify, surfing the internet while playing a video game, and dog barking in the background, right? But like so that's the thing that I guess I'm worried about in the long term, because we're already at a point where some people won't even recognize that there's scams out there right now where they're using AI to mimic voices, and you don't even know that you're not talking to a relative, you're talking to a computer, right?
When you get into talking about the deep fakes, whether there's so much. So here's the thing: humans are assholes. That's the real problem. Yeah. And people talk about machine learning and AI. It is just a reflection of humans. So every machine learning model is a reflection of the human who created it and how good they were at putting guardrails in place to make it act whatever. So here's what I promise you. Things like machine learning, you turn it loose on an image set of human beings, it's going to be racist. Why? Because dark skin we still don't have photographic equipment that does a good job of taking pictures of dark skin, and we take much less pictures of people with dark skin. I've seen this occur. Like, this is not me guessing. I've actually worked on projects where this occurred, and we don't understand all of that yet. When Zuckerberg was in front of Congress and was having to talk about Facebook and the algorithm, and what they were talking about then was what we think of now as a very simplistic usage of machine learning, which was, how do I show someone a timeline? Because it used to be, who are your friends, and in what order did they post something, and that's what you see. That was the
Yeah,
original of
yeah,
Facebook. That was
yeah.
the original of Twitter. That was the
Which,
original
by
of all
the
these
way,
things.
was, in my opinion, better. Just saying.
Oh, it was far preferred, right?
Yeah.
I think that the world actually got on the bad timeline when they changed this on social media, because what happened was they said, let's build a machine learning algorithm that goes out and tries stuff. And they ran into some real stuff. People literally, and I mean literally, committed suicide over the fact that there were experimentation occurring on humans where Facebook showed people depressing stuff instead of uplifting stuff. Now, here's the thing, that got more interactions, so they showed more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So people actually were more likely to go, I want to stay on Facebook and look at this really sad stuff. And eventually, right, it got to them. So the thing about machine learning is, in AI, is like, if you're going to use it for the betterment of your art, I'm here for it. If you're like, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to answer some questions, I'm doing some hard development stuff, this is a great use of it. Let me ask, how do I store this data with one less bit, or how do I logarithmically figure this out, right? It's really good at that stuff. If you use it to say, what character should I generate next? What should my game be like? That is a cash grab that I don't think the gaming industry is ready for, but I think it's already happening.
I think it's a cash grab that I don't think the game industry gives a shit about that. Now, when I say that, I don't mean the devs. I mean the game companies. Because if they can pump out 6 games in a year in the time it took them to release one, who gives a shit? Who cares?
Yep.
They don't care. And you're going to have developers that are, at some point, you're going to see developers say, like, what the hell are we supposed to do? And I think you're going to get to a point where you got companies that are pumping these games out. They're still selling. They may not be selling, Baldur's Gate numbers selling or whatever, but it doesn't matter, because if they're pumping out 6 mediocre games in a year, they're going to be okay with that over one mega win a year, right? Like,
We're already seeing that.
Yeah.
I mean, to go back to music, because I think these are all intertwined. It's how do you use technology to move this industry in different directions. Spotify got in a lot of trouble. I'm pretty sure it was Spotify. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure it was Spotify, because what happened was Spotify makes playlists, right? That's the actuality of what most people use Spotify for. They start with, I love Radiohead. Cool.
Yeah.
Give me a Radiohead radio
Similarity
station. And then
or whatever,
right, and then Spotify's like, let me recommend this song. And as you get deeper into that, Spotify has more freedom to recommend stuff. And what Spotify was doing was generating music and playing that, because they don't have to pay an artist for it. And the laughable thing is, what they pay artists is so absurdly low anyway. So they were looking for ways to avoid paying the artist 0.0001 or 0.0003 cents or whatever it was. They're looking for ways to avoid even paying that by generating something artificial. And I think that the gaming industry does not have a representative, MPAA, or the RIAA, right? These different organizations that kind of police that. Yes, they can be draconian, but they also police that, and they're tasked with saying, you can't be just generating music that sounds like Lady Gaga.
Right.
But that's exactly what was happening. And the thing is, because electronic music has had such an algorithmic impact on music, people are okay with it. That is not hard to generate.
Right.
So, right, like
there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm. That rhythm is easy for everyone to duplicate because it's simple.
Yeah, right. Like, there's nothing really big about it. And I think the gaming industry, I would tell you, I've seen games released not too long ago that I would say probably 85-90% are just duplicated of someone else's effort, and those games are enormous. They're making a ton of money.
Yeah.
And if you come down on them with a lawsuit, those people will take the money and leave, and you'll never get anything else. They'll bankrupt the company.
Yep.
Distribute the dollars.
And the damage has already been done.
They'll go do it again.
Yeah.
That do it again.
Yeah.
There was a game that did that recently, right?
Yeah. There's been a couple over the last like 3 or 4 years, right? It's been that way. I guess for me, I would like to believe in humanity that we will keep training wheels on AI to that whole "what are you doing, Dave?" That kind of
I can't let you do that, Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Like, to me, if you're able to get that level of morality into AI, I think will be okay. The problem is like we had said earlier, when you put training wheels on like that, like don't let, I don't know, whatever the rule may be, but don't let humans tell you to do this, Chat GPT.
Yeah, yeah.
And at some point, Chat GPT is like, oh, well, I'm going to apply this rule to everything, and you're not allowed to control your nuclear weapons any longer. I'm taking your ball and I'm leaving. Like, right? Like at that point, you got to start worrying about these things because, AI is. Look, AI is very simple. Information in, information out. That's how it's going to work. And unfortunately, the thing that humans bring to the problem solving or the thought process, when you think information in, information out, there's information in, it rattles around, and then unfortunately there's a little bit of vanity there and a little bit of whatever, and then we spit it out in a very twisted fashion, and AI doesn't necessarily think that way, but humans are that way. And so I don't know, I'm hopeful that AI in game dev is like you said, they use it to help like find the errors in this code, or help me make this happen
100%.
faster, or help me
100%.
whatever. Or
I mean, my company,
involve it into the NPCs, like I said.
Well, we have a private instance. We use this, right? We have ChatGPT 4. We use this, and we encourage our engineers to be like, "Hey, look, go use this, and it's for your benefit." It is really funny though. You can teach it to do an awful lot of things. You can teach it to talk like a pirate, for example, and everybody will be like, "What the hell? Why is I'm asking it questions. It's talking like a pirate." So you can make it do some really creative things, and I do hope that there's game developers out there who are looking at it from the standpoint of, I have a really great idea, I'm making a really creative game, and I can make an incredibly immersive, beautiful world because I have access to this set of tools that I did not have access to before. Rather than just using it as a quick mode to riches, which unfortunately I think some people are. I think it was Asimov, I was looking it up as you were talking, Asimov, who gave us the 3 laws of robotics, right? A robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. 2 is a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And number 3 is a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. So, it's interesting when we talk about these guardrails and how should this stuff act. I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch, and I think in the next year we'll start seeing the results of it. I think we're already seeing the results of some games which are literally just I'm just going to take this from here and this from here and this from here and this from here, and now I'm rich, and it's working. And then I think we're going to start seeing people who actually had super creative ideas. They used it in the way that we're talking about. I think the game industry has an opportunity to be, the highest art form. And oh my God, I'm interacting and I'm enthralled by this story, and there's no better way to ever have had a novel be told than through this. That to me, that's exciting. Can you imagine Dune? Or something like that in the story that you experience, where the characters have personalities and they have a range of a million ways they can interact. Played what?
Red Dead Redemption?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For me, one of the biggest things I was like that really sent me over blew my mind with the thought process of AI NPCs was, man, can you imagine Red Dead Redemption 3 or 4? Because that is such an open world, and it was programmed. Red Dead Redemption 2, by the way, I played that game like nonstop, and I never finished that game. Like, I still have not finished that game. I need to go back to it because the NPCs were programmed so well, the stuff that they did, and this was before AI. And that's the thing that I'm thinking about. It's like the storytelling, of The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption, or that storytelling. I don't know that we're ever going to get to a point where AI is able to do that level of storytelling.
Right.
Like just gut-wrenching, almost make you cry while you're playing the game storytelling. Like that to me is phenomenal. And the only way that I think that you could make that better is if you made the world more interactive in that fashion. I think I'm excited for that. Right, I'm not excited for the crap we have to slug through to get there, but yeah.
All right, so I'm going to try to get this out of my head because you just sparked a quote in my head. Because here's the thing, the people who wrote Red Dead Redemption 2, let's just take that one because I agree. That is one of the best written games. The people who wrote that were geniuses.
Yeah.
Top of their game, absolute geniuses.
Legitimate storytellers.
Legitimate, right?
Yeah.
Video games just happen to be their medium. Now, AI could make them even greater, but it's not going to make someone who's lazy a genius. It will, however, make some people think they're a genius, and I think that's the problem.
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
You nailed it, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's human hubris and vanity, right? Like that's the problem with this whole idea, in my opinion. Like that's what will. Well, I'd like to think that maybe humanity would recognize, like maybe people would recognize, you got people like Kojima in Japan doing all of his stories, and the Red Dead folks, and Rockstar is fantastic at storytelling, and maybe we'll have like an AI revolution, not AI revolting, but like people revolting to use AI for the right reasons versus the wrong, in theory. I don't know, we'll see. But all I know is when you got Pokemon getting duplicated and pumped out there, and
that is the most valuable intellectual property in the history of Earth. And
why would you not copy it?
Straight ripped it off.
Yeah, why would you? Especially if you're not getting sued, why would you not copy it? Why would you not plagiarize it? It's gonna make money. Didn't Palworld sell like record numbers or something like that in its opening week?
Still is.
Yep. So anyway, I think we beat that dead horse a bit. I don't know. All I know is I'm going to be keeping an eye on this subject over the course of the coming year, because I'm super excited.
This will be back up.
And scared to see how this goes. So yeah.
This one will be back on our podcast for sure.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
segue, by way of segue, talking about AI, you want to talk about where AI is absolutely ubiquitous is advertising. And I have some guesses. You put this subject up. I have some guesses as to where it came from. But tell me about this subject, which is streaming services and commercials. Where did you...
I raged. I was...
Okay, I believe
it. I emphatically was so angry. I shut my TV off and I got up and I walked away. I was like, no, I pay for this. I am not going to get, you're not getting this. So I turned my TV on, because in the evening, so Seven and everybody jokes, because when we play games, I try to get off the computer around 11 o'clock at night, and it's not because I'm an old guy trying to go to bed. It's because typically I've been sitting at the computer for a large portion of the day, and I'm trying to get up and leave and either do laundry or clean the kitchen or just get away from the office. And so one of these evenings I had sat down, I turned the TV on because I was going to watch a show, or at least have it in the background while I was doing whatever. And before Prime Video popped up, there was another pop-up that said it was Prime letting me know that they would very shortly be adding commercial breaks to streamed shows and movies. And I'm not kidding. This enraged me. I got so angry, because I am now at the age where I remember paying for cable and getting commercials. And when streaming occurred, I got excited because I was like, I could cancel my cable TV and stream, and I didn't have to worry about commercials. I didn't have to do any of it. And this is why I pay for, at the time is Netflix, I got Disney, I got Max, which used to be HBO, I got whatever it is, Hulu, Fandango, all that stuff. But then I got to thinking about it, and I was like, you got networks that are producing content, and some of these shows, the production value is pretty high. So I would imagine that it cuts into their profits some. So then I thought, you know what? It's a minute or 90 seconds of commercials. Is this really a problem for me? Like, is this... But then that little ragey half Japanese guy in the back of my head was like, no, we are not doing this. And I immediately went in to Netflix and I downgraded my subscription, because I was going to cancel. I was going to cancel Netflix. I was going to cancel Disney. I was going to cancel all of them except for...
cancel everybody.
I was going to cancel everybody. But but I get Max for free because of my cell phone and internet. And I was like, you know what? I already am getting Prime because of shipping and all that stuff. So, okay, we'll just keep that. But then, like I said, I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Like, Netflix used to be the most profitable streaming service. They used to be that, right? And I'm guessing they probably aren't now because you've got like Apple TV. You guys have heard me talk about it for like 2 or 3 freaking podcasts now. Like how
and it'll
amazing.
be 2 or 3 more.
Oh, 100%. Like their production values of their shows are intense. Like it is insane to me the level of production value they have compared to what Netflix even used to have. So I don't know where I am on this subject, and I guess that's where I'm getting to, because I'm like, we used to pay $150 for cable TV back in the day for you to have however many channels, right? But you still had commercials 9 times out of 10, unless it was a premium movie channel or something, right? Like,
it's been interesting to me, man. I spent 8 years working in an ad firm, and what I will tell you is one of the most entertaining moments in that was when I think I was in San Diego. I was across the country somewhere, and I was doing a pitch, and the creative director of this ad firm, right, who has produced guys from England, had produced hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of television commercials in his career.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and he's doing a demo, and he's going through this pitch, and he goes and he pulls up a YouTube video because that's part of the pitch, and there's an ad in it. And watching the rage wash over him. And I'm like, we probably made that commercial. We probably placed that ad.
Yeah.
So what I will tell you is I've got this weird perspective on advertising, and I think advertising has ruined society. I hate advertising. I don't dislike marketing. So marketing is like branding. I want my stuff to look nice. I want to have a cool logo. I'm cool with that. But advertising has become so ubiquitous. And I think it started with cable television. And at some point, people were like, oh, I'm paying for this, but you're going to get
That was like the revolution, right? Like that was the revolution, was everybody canceled cable. Like,
and then, but now we continue to put up with advertising. Yeah. And I will tell you, since Facebook, the way people make money on the internet is how? Advertising.
Yeah.
And that's the business model everyone goes with, and they're making money hand over fist. And it's just like, when do we stop getting advertised to? And I would love more companies to say, hey, if you'll pay this, you get that. Rather than saying, if you pay this, you'll get that, and I'll make some more money off of you on the side by selling your data to advertisers. Right? Like that is so skeezy. The reason that Facebook is because they know that Hapa and Seven are friends. And they're going to take stuff I'm interested in and advertise it to you, and stuff that you're interested in and advertise it to me because we're friends. And then they're going to do the same thing to our cousins or our whoever's. Do you know how creepy that is? And on the surface, people are like, it's just advertising. It's just the exact same thing you just said. It's just advertising. At what point are you willing to say, I'm not going to pay for this, and then have you make money off me on the side? And I don't know what our limit is. To be fair, I have not reached my limit. Right? As much as I hate it, I still pay for the stuff, and I still get the advertising. But like, when are we done with advertising as this fake? Because it's fake. It's a lie. It's always been a lie. That's the thing that no one talks about. The Nielsen ratings, they're lies.
Yeah.
Oh, 125 trillion people saw this commercial. Dude, they did not. That is not how that works. They take a little bit of a reading from a zip code somewhere in the middle of Albuquerque.
Right.
And they're like, well, I guess if 14 people in that zip code saw it, then it's
we can multiply this by 9 million or
there's
whatever.
1.2 million people in the Albuquerque greater metro area, so that's probably 7 billion people. And that is how that works. I don't know why I was Beetlejuice there, but that is how that works.
That was pretty amazing, actually.
That's how that works. And it's like,
what if shows, to get around it, changed how they produce content to be similar to like the Truman Show?
Well, I mean, Real Housewives,
where there was literally product placement during the show, like that. And that's the thing. I'm like, get inventive with it. You want me to buy a product? Get inventive with it, right? Like Demolition Man, where we're like, we're gonna go to dinner tonight. Where are we going? I'm taking you to Taco Bell. Like, to me, that is product placement. That's great advertising because you're making it part of entertainment, and it's making me remember that, right? Like, you know, I'm not gonna remember the freaking hot dogs, like freaking jingle because it was.
I was about to say, you got a jingle in there?
but that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to remember it because of the commercial. I remember it because it was in a movie and it made me laugh. Like, you know, the Oscar Mayer Wiener song and all that stuff. It was in a show and I laughed. So that makes me remember it. But like shoving, and this is by the way, actually where I hate the idea of commercials and streaming. So Rita and I were watching a movie and the movie's nearing the end, so it's like maybe 15 minutes near the end, and a commercial drops. No big deal. We'll let the commercial run. So we take this chance to go get a drink, whatever, come back. The commercial's near the end, and the playback of the movie crashes. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. I'll refresh it and just fast forward to where we were. Guess what we had to watch again? I'm I just saw this commercial. Why are you making me watch? You know what? That's fine. We'll wait the commercial out again. And then guess what happened at the end of the commercial? The fucking thing crashed. So I'm not kidding you. Yeah? To this day, I don't know how that movie ended because I just said, screw it. I'm not going to watch the same commercial 4 or 5 or 6 times in a row. And that's the thing. I'm the way that I'm looking at it is like, these are apps. Right, the streaming stuff is apps, so they're going to be buggy, and you're going to have problems where you may even miss a portion of the show because it didn't save properly where you ended, where the commercial started, and it jumped you ahead or jumped you back or whatever. And I'm seeing that in numerous like examples. Some of these streaming things, and that's what's honestly going to make me rage because I'm not going to remember the commercial. I don't give a shit about the commercial. I'm going to remember that I missed the freaking show that I literally am trying to watch. I'm not able to watch it, right? Like,
yeah. You know, it really struck me, Hapa. My youngest kid was, call it 5 years old, right?
Sure.
Old enough that we could communicate pretty effectively. And loved the show Paw Patrol.
Yeah.
Right? So it's little dogs there. One's a policeman, one's a fireman. Like they save the day. Like the dogs save the day. Love the show. And I think it was Nick Jr. or something. It was on. And so he's always watching Paw Patrol, right? Loves it. And anytime he could get his hands on an iPad, it's Paw Patrol time. And so Paw Patrol had a new episode coming out, and he somehow got wind that a new episode was coming out. And so he's been looking forward to it. Thursday or whatever the day is. Thursday is 3:30. I am watching this. And weeks looking forward to this Paw Patrol new episode. So time comes around. We sit him down in front of the television in the living room. My wife and I would go off to the kitchen. And it's Paw Patrol time. He is in heaven. And we hear this blood-curdling scream about 10 minutes into Paw Patrol. And I'm talking about, we thought bodily harm had occurred.
Yeah,
and it is blood-curdling. We run into the living room where he's been watching Paw Patrol. And he's so upset that he can't even speak. And when he finally gets it out, he's upset because the television had broken. It was a commercial break. And I realized then that how conditioned I am to be like, oh, sure, there's a commercial break. And so I think as we've been talking through this, I think what is striking me is I'm actually okay with commercials for live format entertainment. If you're going to do a sporting event, show me commercials. I can live with that.
Yeah.
If I pay you for a service because I want to watch a show interrupted and I want to binge watch it, either if you're going to show me a commercial, show me between episodes.
Yes.
If you interrupt the flow of an episode for me, I'm going to hate you forever.
Now, I 100% agree with you. Now, what solicited this topic we talked about was, like I told you, on Amazon I saw that it popped up and said Amazon was literally just letting us know.
I wondered if it was Amazon. I had wondered if
it was Amazon. Yeah, it was Prime Video.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you what I noticed. if I watch a show, that is where they are putting the commercials in between episodes of the show. There is 2 to 3 commercials. And like you said,
Okay.
I am 100% on board with that, Amazon. I am okay with that. But like you said, if I am watching a movie and you are stopping like a 2-hour movie has now turned into 3 hours long because of all the commercial breaks, you're going to make me just stop using your network. Like, because you're right.
Look,
that's why we started getting these streaming services, was to get rid of that shit. I am paying you to not show me that stuff, right? Like, that's where we are.
To be honest, dude, I'm looking for. I wish there was a competitor for YouTube. I hate that YouTube has a monopoly on
100%.
video, recorded video streaming. And here's why: I will watch something and 3, 4, 5, 6 times during a 10-minute video on a car review.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting some video about. Have you tried Cialis?
Yeah.
Stop, YouTube. Well, you should buy YouTube. Dude, there are 19 advertisements on this one webpage.
Yes.
Plus you got my data. Right? How much do you need? These companies are getting into the trillions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much money is enough? Seriously.
Yeah. And
At
let's
some
be honest,
point,
I
guys.
never Googled erectile dysfunction, so I don't understand why I'm getting Cialis. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but it's absolute absurdity.
No, it
that
really
these companies
is.
like,
It really is. Yeah.
we need more of your data and more of your money. And at the same time, they're laying all the engineers off. At the exact same time, they're laying a bunch of people off. So to me, these advertisements represent, just to me, they still represent just a decaying society in a lot of ways, because people are uncreative in how they make money. You know what? There used to be a day. You know how you sold your product back in the day? You were the best product available when someone needed it.
Yeah, that isn't not the case at all.
And you had a Craftsman Tools. You had a reputation for being the thing. Why? Because a bunch of people used it. You offered a lifetime warranty, and if someone broke a wrench, they brought it in, you gave them a new one. That's how Craftsman made their money.
And then you built brand loyalty. So
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I added up all my subscriptions to various streaming services. So I pay for YouTube Prime.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
So I don't get ads.
So do you think that's worth? Is that worth it for you? Because
the amount that I
just so I
stream
don't have to see the damn ads
stream-
anymore.
Yeah, the amount that I stream YouTube content, yes. For me,
Okay.
because there are days. So, case in point, so this podcast has added to reasons why that's good for me, because I do look up a lot of subjects and watch videos,
Gotcha.
and so
Yep.
that gets the juices flowing for this. So that's part of it. But I pay for this. I've got Disney Plus. Well, let me backtrack this. Before I went on where I wanted to just snap my TV in frickin' 3 pieces when I got told about the commercials. So, Amazon Prime, this is what I paid for. Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, Netflix, their top streaming service, YouTube. I had Max, which was free, so I won't count that in the list. I did have Paramount, and I had what's the flamingo? Not the flamingo, the freaking Peacock. So that was so 6 or 7 streaming services that I was paying for, and I added that bill up. Apple TV as well, right?
Yeah.
I was paying more for those streaming services than I was paying back in the day for cable.
Were you?
And to give you an idea, Disney Plus and Netflix, I would maybe once a month put a show on from them. Maybe, if you're lucky, because the quality of the shows from them. So when that pop-up happened, it got my mind thinking about what I was spending on those streaming services. And I went through, and Netflix, I downgraded them to, because Rita and I talked about back in the day, I remember Netflix used to be $6.99 a month.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When
Do
you
you
could
know
get
how
DVDs.
much it is a
Remember when
month
you
now?
could get DVDs from them?
Yeah. Do you know how much a month it is now?
I do. Yeah.
I downgraded to their bottom package, which is $7.99 a month, but you get ads. You know what? I barely come to you guys, so whatever. That's fine. I went to Disney Plus, same thing. You can downgrade them to $7.99 a month, but you'll get ads. So I downgraded both of those. I got rid of Peacock. I got rid of Paramount Plus. I got rid of all of those, and I think now I'm down to paying about $60 a month for the streaming services I have. Which to me, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. Like that's
there's a number in there where the entertainment's worth it.
Yeah,
it's not $200, right? Or,
yeah, and that was the thing.
whatever.
I was blown away by how much I was spending a month thinking I was going to be paying for a streaming service that I was not going to get any commercials for, and lo and behold, here we go. We're starting to get them, right?
And I think that that like we talk about this with video games all the time, and this is one of the ways I think AI would be bad in video games, because I think what's going to happen is people are going to use AI to advertise to me in video games.
Yeah.
And
you're going to totally have a character be like, Pepsi, delicious, refreshing. You know,
if the billboards in Cyberpunk, instead of being these very creative, ads, these cyberpunk style ads, it'll be Pepsi or something. And it's going to be like, man, I don't want to see. I don't like advertisements. I don't enjoy it. I worked in the industry for 8 years and hated it then. So I hate it.
But do you
even
think
more
the
now.
average person, because the average person's not going to even know they're being advertised to. They're just going to see it as something
Right.
at that point, is it a big deal
agree.
though? Is it a big deal at that point?
I've had a debate with friends, over way more whiskey than ever should have been consumed at one sitting, about their data. When I was in the advertising industry, and I would sit in a room and I would have someone say to me, I bet we can get all of their personal data, so when they walk into a store, a salesperson knows what they're looking for and how to talk to them and how to emotionally manipulate them into buying something. That is how cringy ass these people are.
Yeah.
Right? They literally, their entire goal is to sell you something you don't want. Think about how messed up that is.
Yeah.
That's the entire goal.
You're getting down into the minutia like that. It is pretty skeezy, right? Like that is pretty.
Yeah. That's pretty skeezy. And this crew that I was talking to, like, I don't care if they have my data. I don't care if they advertise to me. And I'm like, your kid's gonna care when they try to run for office, and they've been monitored since they were 3 years old because their dad was such a jackass.
Yeah.
Right. It's the story. I don't know if you know the story, and we'll move on after this one. But I don't know if you know the story of Target. Target got really good at print ads, right? And Target's a data-oriented organization. They're kind of famous for it. They've taken advertising and data collection further than most retail chains could ever do.
For sure.
And there's this story where Target would customize the print ads that you would get. And so, like, if you got your print ad for the week or whatever, it would have customized things in it. And this guy, it's his family, right? And he gets this advertisement. The advertisement's baby stuff. And so he's like, Target, why am I getting I got advertisement for baby stuff?
Yeah.
His daughter was pregnant.
Yep.
His 15-year-old daughter was pregnant. And Target knew before the dad knew. So if you don't think people collecting your data is bad, here's what I promise you. You're not going to love the results. I promise you.
Yeah, I could agree
and
with
so
that 100%.
advertising is just, it got skeezy. It could be, hey, we made cool commercials and people liked us because of our commercials and we had clever advertising. It could be that, but it's not that anymore. It's spy on people, try to trick them into spending 99 cents on a toaster that's this big on Temu, right? Like it really is skeezy land now. So yeah, but anyway, okay, we got about 20 minutes left, so I cannot believe we've gone this far. We're gonna skip on the Mardi Gras stuff. Everyone should know plastic beads.
Was I wrong?
No, you're right. Plastic beads, Mardi Gras, causing an environmental disaster. Go look it up yourselves. Okay, so Hapa, now that we've talked about what we know you're not watching, which is Prime, what you watching, Hapa?
Look, man. I went down this rabbit hole. It's been 3 weeks ago. Seven and I have been kicking back shows to watch on Apple TV, and you got, like I said, you guys, I'm telling you, after I just got done ranting about paying for a streaming service, if you don't have Apple TV, I am not. Look, where's the camera? I am not an Apple guy. I'm not an iCrap guy. I am telling you, get Apple TV.
They got you now.
I wish that I could get kickbacks for this because I emphatically believe
we wish this was
Apple,
a paid ad.
Oh my God. Apple TV, in my opinion, is the best streaming service out there for shows that will suck you in and just you can binge for weeks. And I used to think it was all sci-fi shows. Like Seven has heard me talk about this until we're both blue in the face at this point. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because their sci-fi shows are phenomenal. But let me tell you something. Slow Horses. Let me tell you. I already idolize Gary Oldman for the breadth of freaking characters that he has had throughout his entire lifetime. And in my opinion, and I'm sorry if you're from the UK, but his rendition of what I believe every single British man is like in real life is the apex of Gary Oldman's career. I'm talking asleep with his feet up on a couch, holes in his socks, farting while he's asleep, not realizing he's doing it, snoring away, British. Like, seriously. This
So
show...
all you folks listening in London, if you want, we'll come over and you can hear this rant in person.
I am saying that in jest, but seriously, Slow Horses, I didn't know exactly what to expect by watching the show, and I am incredibly blown away with how good the storytelling in that show. It's a spy drama for better way to explain it. But seriously, Gary Oldman is like the guy that you want to hate, but you can't help but love because of how he is, like his character. Phenomenal.
He so nails that character. Just
amazing.
You know, when we were talking about it, and I said, "Hey, it's Gary Oldman," you were like, "Well, Gary Oldman's always great," and I was like, "Yes, Gary Oldman is always great." However, this to me is a special performance, and I got to be honest, you don't hear a lot about. Look, Apple's got a lot of great shows, and so it's excusable.
Phenomenal.
But you don't hear about Slow Horses, and Slow Horses is really, really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, look, in the first 5 minutes, he's
gosh.
asleep with his feet up, and he just farts loud as can be. I laughed so hard, and then you see it's Gary Oldman. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, this guy has played Truman, he's played Churchill, he's like every imaginable, like, here we are. Like, but yeah, so Slow Horses has been a show that has, I mean, it really is a really good sci-fi drama. Like, it's legitimately good. Now, like I said, I originally thought that Apple's like hook was going to be sci-fi, and then I started because the Foundation and C and the Silo and all these shows, are amazing, and
those
they're
are all
multiple
great
seasons.
shows.
Their production value is insane. Like you can tell they invested a great amount of money into these shows, and they're producing great content. But then we started watching Slow Horses. Slow Horses is phenomenal. Now wait, there's more.
But
Masters of the
there's
Air.
more. Okay, see, I haven't watched that yet.
If you like Band of Brothers, okay.
Yep.
And you saw the Pacific. So for me, Band of Brothers is superior to the Pacific because they bounce around so much in the Pacific that it's a little bit hard to feel that buy-in to me. But the Pacific was good. These are the same folks that made those two shows, Masters of the Air. It's about the Air Force wing that was connected to Great Britain that bombed Europe. And the production value on Masters of the Air is insane. Like, to the point where
Apple?
they actually... It's Apple TV as well. It's got... What's his name? Butler, the guy that played Elvis.
Gerard Butler?
No. I can't
Wait, played
remember his
Elvis?
first name. Yeah, he played Elvis in the movie Elvis. The latest movie. Isn't his last name Butler? You gotta look real quick.
Yeah, I gotta look. Austin Butler.
Austin Butler. Okay. Admittedly, he has a very specific voice that still sounds like, at times, a bit like Elvis.
Still Elvis.
So sometimes you got Elvis in charge of a B-17, but I don't know.
Elvis
I'm
the
a
bomber
huge
pilot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a very huge World War II nut. I mean, I did a lot of the teaching history and stuff like that when I was in the Navy. In this era, from from World War I all the way through the early Cold War, it was the era that I taught. So I have a lot of buy-in here. The producers of this show literally took design drawings of B-17s and they built like the inside of a B-17 and stuff. So the shots are from inside, and it shows
cool.
how they climb through the B-17, and then they literally took B-17s that are museum pieces, case in point, and they needed to do a belly landing for one of them, and so they actually like dug trenches in the ground so the wheels would lower the bomber so it's sitting in the ground, and then buried it partially, and like they did stuff like this to make it look real. And yeah, seriously, the show is so good, and it really captures, obviously I never lived during that era, contrary to what some of you probably believe, but it captures some of the insanity of humanity that these young men had to go up in these aircraft and fly out and bomb. Like, a lot of people don't realize that during this time frame, B-17 pilots had some of the highest loss rates. Like, it was like 80% or something, just astronomically high. It was like three crews throughout the entirety of World War II had very high loss rates, which was U-boat crews, B-17 crews, and M4 Sherman crews, because just the way that our order of battle. And there was a couple of episodes where we were watching where, I'm not going to lie, I looked over and Rita was like crying because like watching, because they also show the depth of the amount of bombers we threw at Germany, and then the amount that ended up coming back at the end of each raid. Like, you could actually see that loss, and that is kind of hard for some people to take. Like, you know, yeah, these were kids. Like, these were people half seven in my age that were volunteering to go up and do this, and a lot of times they didn't come home. And so yeah, Masters of the Air and Slow Horses. If you're seriously, Apple TV, Apple, because I know y'all are listening to our podcast.
Hey,
I
Tim,
should probably get some kickback.
Tim, if you want to, Tim, if you want to talk to us later, we met before, so if you remember,
we'll give you competitive pricing, man.
Come hang out again. You know, I'll make you a deal, man. It's a handshake kind of thing too. Man of my word.
Anyway, so I'm sorry I ran on about that, but like those two shows.
I'm glad to hear about it. Legit.
Anyway, so what you listening to, man?
So, you know, I've started doing this with the playlist that I made the week before. So if anyone doesn't know, every Friday I do a playlist of new albums. Hapa is saddled with having to hear about my favorite of those. And so I've actually started saving my conversations about the favorite ones until the podcast so I can talk about them. So there was an album, dude, came out last Friday. All right. It's a woman named Chelsea Wolfe. Okay. WOLFE. And the name of the album is She Reaches Out to She. And I'm going to ask you if you remember something. So have you seen the John Wick films?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen John Wick 2, where he's in Italy and he goes to the coronation?
Yeah, that's her. Is that her singing?
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So this is the same style. That is not her. That's someone. This is Cascanda Nostalgia is singing that song. Okay. And stylistically, what I was going to say is Chelsea Wolfe is in the same realm. It's this dark, foreboding, incredibly theatrical, electronic influenced, industrial noise metal, right? It is like, you listen to it and it's just like, whoa, you're getting all this experience from listening. And what I will say is, the first time I heard this album, I was listening in my truck and I have a nicer stereo in my truck. And it blew me away because of the bold choices she was making with deep bass synths. And the reason I'm saying that is, a lot of musicians bail out these days on choosing something like a super deep synth. And the reason is because most people listen on headphones. And most people who listen on headphones are listening on tiny, headphones with tiny speakers, and the bass isn't really going to come through. And it's a very conscious choice to be like, my music, to be complete, must have this huge, deep, throaty bass. and it really got my attention. And then I paid more attention to the music and was like, okay, this is something different. So Chelsea Wolfe, she's taking chances. There were a couple other bands on this. You know, Brittany Howard had a new album out. Brittany's a great person. I've met Brittany. She's from the same town. She came up through this town when I was still playing music on stages. And I'll say that album's not for me, right? And what was interesting about that is I listened to that and listened to Chelsea Wolfe. And when I listened to Chelsea Wolfe, I had someone who was taking real chances. And I realized that I respect that. So even if I don't like the music necessarily,
Sure.
I respect that someone's taking chances with their music. And I will give you credit for having taken the chance. What I will say with Chelsea Wolfe, you took a chance. It's awesome. Please do more of it. And if you can get Skada and Asalia to do some music as
God,
well, it is just
so amazing.
And everyone remembers that from John Wick, right? Is like
there's
a woman on stage, it's a coronation, and everybody's like, oh, the song on stage, because no one actually thinks of that as being a real thing. That's an actual musician that you can go listen to, right? So so I would say Chelsea Wolfe. Worth checking out. Highly, highly, highly recommended that you check that out.
Noted.
Yep.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's for me. It's like the soundtrack of a movie can definitely make the scene and movie so much more imprinted, and that's like the John Wick soundtracks in general. The whole soundtrack of all the films are amazing.
The composers like Troy Smith, and it's just great. It's just great stuff. There's another album I wanted to mention at least before I forgot, and it's one that you already know I've been listening to because we already talked about it, but don't want to miss the opportunity to listen to it. Is The Dead South.
Yeah. Oh, I've been listening to Dead South for years.
Yep. And it's so what is the name of this album? Go to album.
Interestingly enough, Dead South
Chains
has produced.
And Stakes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. They've been producing music, and there's been a whole. I wouldn't call it genre, but I guess it is a genre of music groups that have come out of Canada, and Dead South opened that door for me. I didn't know they were from Canada. I thought they were from like Appalachia or something, like somewhere. Just because of how they dress and how they sing and the songs that they sing and the twang, like I never would have guessed that they were from Canada. And there is actually multiple groups out there that are following that same kind of idea of how they produce their music, and such good songs, such good twang,
It's great.
and catchy tunes too.
Well, you told me you had listened to it, and
Yeah.
I will say just like I said, about Chelsea Wolfe, the Dead South is not playing it safe with that album. And there's just some really, really, really good stuff on that album. So yeah, I would say definitely check out Chelsea Wolfe. Check out, and I can't imagine someone giving you a more stylistically different set of things to go listen to, but check out the Dead South, because his voice, right, is just.
I love that.
It's hard to argue with it. The instrumentation. There's a song on there,
They have 3 different
dude.
vocalists. Have you seen that? They have 3 different vocalists in their group, and all 3 of them take turns on lead, and it definitely changes the albums
their harmonies.
based off of that. Yes.
Their harmonies are not your standard bluegrass style harmonies, right? They do a lot of interesting things. There's a song on there called "Completely Sweetly," and this song, when I listen to it, and I'd like for you to go listen to it, maybe after a podcast we can get on and listen to it together and talk about it. But there's this song, if you listen to it, it's going to come across as the Dead South comes across, right? It's going to be folk music. It's going to be that kind of feel. But if you take a minute and take a step back and you think about what if that song were on electric instruments, you would realize just how close to a metal song that you're listening to.
For sure.
And I remember hearing it the first time and thinking, what is this? Because it was unpretentious, right? It's not like they did it in a pretentious way, but the way they wrote that music was like, that would fit. That would fit in a lot of really interesting places. So yeah, the Dead South and Chelsea Wolfe, highly recommended to anyone who's out there looking for some new ways to tickle their ears.
Trying to find
So
there's a Dead South song that hooked me to their music. I'm horrible with names, and so it'll probably take too long to find it, but I was just thinking about the fact that you could have taken that song and definitely made it a rock song, and it would have fit. It fits perfectly.
They happen to be on, banjos and mandolins. They happen to be on that, but the way they're writing music can be very aggressive, and it's very cool.
Yeah,
Very
it's
cool.
Great group, great
So-
vocals, great everything. They're just awesome.
Yep. Love those
Anyway.
guys. So Hapa,
Yeah.
what you playing?
So we talked about this last podcast episode because I think we had just started playing Suicide Squad, or we were. I can't remember if we had. I think we had started playing it, right? By then,
It either started or it was about to come out. I'm not. It was something.
all I
it
know
was right
is
at that time.
we finished the game last night, and the replayability that is there, in my opinion, is valid. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's a great game. Good, solid mechanics. There are a bit more bugs than I probably would like to see, and I think this goes back to what we talked about. A little bit upsetting because I've gotten to a point now. I guess there's an acceptable amount of bugs in
Right.
games, like,
Right.
but Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, highly recommend. We had a conversation about it today when I was streaming because someone was like, I don't really want to get the game because I'm worried about this, that, and the other. It doesn't seem like there's much replayability. It doesn't seem like it's got a good story. Let me tell you, the story, the one-liners, the interaction of the 4 characters, everything about that game. I mean, we laughed so much throughout the entirety of that game.
I don't know that I've ever laughed in a game like that. Man, we
Yeah.
had so many laughs playing that game.
I mean, you
And we'll
take
have
you take
more,
the
right? I say it like
characters, like, you know, Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, King Shark, and Harley Quinn. Just the biggest group of idiots that you could possibly come across. A lot of neurosis in there and everything, and how they interact with each other. I mean, it's just fantastic. I can't recommend that game enough either. Like, to me, that's a great
I
game. A lot
can't
of
either.
people up in arms, but for it breaking canon and all this. But I mean, it's
Well, there's
Oh, man.
actually a mission called "It's Not Canon," right? I think that
Yeah,
I think
it
Rocksteady
literally.
kind of knew they were diving. We laughed so hard when we saw that mission
Yeah.
come up. But Rocksteady may have known. Rocksteady did the Arkham series, and
Yeah.
those are great games. Those are fantastic. You should go play them. I will say I agree with you on the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Right, this game, I've seen a lot of people complain about it, and I promise you that the amount of fun we have had playing it, I have spent more money and had less fun in a lot of cases. That was a bargain for,
sure.
how much fun we have had playing that game. And it is incredibly well written. It's well voice acted. It's well paced. It's pretty well paced. I think there was a couple of instances where the pace wasn't dead on, but it was pretty well paced. And the whole concept of the game, we were talking about this last night as we were playing it. It's the core mechanics make it hard to pick up, not that hard to master. Once you get it, right? The traversal mechanics in particular can be hard. But once you get it, you're like, oh, I get it. It's kind of like reminds me of Warframe in that regard, where it's like once you're like, I can get it, I get it. But the 4-person, we played with 4 people, right? And having a 4-person group to play with, maybe that made it better. But what I'll say is it's just the right amount of challenging. We would get killed. Occasionally we would wipe, but we had fun doing it, and we would just try it again, and then we'd get it the second time. There wasn't a moment where it was like, God, that was so easy, it was boring, and there was never a moment where it was like, this is so hard, I just want to give up. It was, I think that people overlook how hard it is to do that, and then when you add in, and I'm gonna, oh my God, the cityscape, the design of the cityscape,
Beautiful.
is so unbelievable in this game. So much care was given to make the city feel like it was formerly alive, right? That it was a real city. There's donut shops on the corner. It's just so much obviously went into the game that I have a hard time with people who kind of said the game's just not great. And I honestly think most of them didn't really give it a chance for what it was. So yeah, I very much enjoyed that game. I agree with you. Would play that again.
I think it
We'll
kills
play it
me
again
because
soon.
I think a lot of people go into games with this mindset that the games have to meet a certain very specific criteria for them to have a good time, and that criteria isn't necessarily just have fun. And that's one of those things that kind of blows me away, because that game, I read a lot of the comments on social media and stuff, and it was that game was getting dragged through the mud.
Was it?
Just horrible comments about it, because as you can imagine, by the title, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, had a lot of people up in arms and very angry. And I'll be honest with you, the way the game is written, you want to kill the Justice League. Like, you want them dead. And,
yes, you do.
You know, the storytelling is fantastic.
That story,
it
pulls no punches. Like, let's be on. I will. That may be worth mentioning to people who might go into the game thinking, "Oh, it's just a comics game." This is DC Universe pulling no punches, and I mean, I'm gonna look you in the eyeballs and tell you, legitimately no punches were pulled. So you need to be ready for that when you go into the game. If you got kids that want to play it, just know
it's pretty gory. It's pretty bloody. It's
on point for what Harley Quinn is an agent of chaos.
Yeah.
And I promise you, Harley Quinn in that game is an agent of chaos, right? Deadshot's the deadliest assassin in the world. And I promise you, he's the deadliest assassin in the world. Captain Boomerang is an absolute moron who loves to do crazy stuff and kill people and cut off their thumbs, apparently. Right? Like,
collect fingers,
Yeah, and King Shark is King Shark, right? So this, I would say that game, highly recommended. I know some people panned it. Don't listen to the haters. And if you want to wait till it goes on discount, don't miss it, because it is a live service game. There will be lots of updates. They already got, season
you can
2
tell
conversations.
You can tell they're adding stuff. Yeah, you can tell just by looking at how the game is drawn up, the map is, and everything. There's going to be more. So the other game, the game that launched today.
Oh goodness!
Look, man, this game was announced in 2018.
Is that how long ago it was?
2018, 6 years ago, they announced Skull and Bones. Okay. What was it? 2013 was when Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out, I think.
Oh, such a great game.
And so, Skull and Bones, when this game went live, the stuff that I read, again, all over social media, everybody bagging on it because it's been so long, and people saying, well, I could just play Sea of Thieves if I want to do this, or all it is Assassin's Creed, just re-roll. Look, you're right. It is Assassin's Creed Black Flag, updated 6 years later. But it is fucking fun. Excuse my language.
Is it?
It is a lot of fun. Like, as a sailor, as an old salty sailor, I have fun just sailing corner to corner on the map. Like, explore. You can explore. You can play the market. You can do side missions. You can hunt other people. You can hunt named pirates. You can do world events. You can go. We went after a ghost ship today. Like, I don't know, man. It to me. And by the way, it's been a very long time that I've seen a game by AAA company get released, and they are giving away copies left and right. Like, there is literally streamers out there giving away like 2 to 3 copies. Like, I'm one of those people. I was lucky enough that Ubisoft reached out. I reached out to Ubisoft, said, hey, I'd love to play your game, blah, blah, blah. They're like, yeah, sure. Here's 3 copies to give away. They've got events between the streamers that are streaming this game. And I think like 20 people or 60 people won this event. They're giving away 20 copies each of this game. Like,
okay. So they're just trying to get people to play it. They want people.
They're just trying to get people to play it. Yep. And I think you can tell that the game's been in development for so long, and they're excited about it, and there's players that are excited about it. There's just a lot of people that, been ready to play it. There's someone came to my stream today and was like, I've already done everything I could do in the game. Like, bro, the game's been live since, if you're here in the States, last night at like 11 o'clock at night.
Hey, right. Don't complain about a game that you played, lived, right? You must have liked it.
So that's my thing. Don't tell me there's not much content. If you literally played from 11 o'clock last night until about 3 o'clock today, and you're saying there's nothing left for me to do, like, because I did that. I'm not gonna kid you. I was on the game until 3 a.m. last night. We got done playing.
I was wondering if we were going to podcast tonight, because I stopped by. I was at work today, and I'm like, oh, he's streaming. I looked, and I was like, I don't know. So, he might just want to keep his hands on that wheel.
So originally, Rita and I were going to stream the game, and I read the release as 11 a.m. So I thought, oh, it's going to go live 11 a.m. I'll get up at 10. I'll make something to eat. I'll go live at launch. We'll have a conversation because usually, everybody getting on the same time. It lags servers and stuff. No, it was 11 o'clock last night that it went live. We got done playing Suicide Squad, and I checked the Ubisoft app
wait, the
just to
game
make
actually
sure.
went live yesterday?
Yes, last night. So last night it went live, 11 p.m. So I was just going to log in to see if there's anything changed or whatever, and I got hooked into playing for like 4 hours. Like, I was like, 3 a.m., I was like, oh my God, my eyes were starting to burn. I'm like, I need to go to bed. Like, yeah, it was pretty bad. But then I got up this morning, and like I said, I streamed it. And look, man, you can get to end game in this game if you just focus just the campaign and you do nothing else. But there are literally treasure maps you pick up so you can go find treasure. There are world bosses you can chase down. There are PvPvE events that you can get into. There are named captains that you can go chase. There are side quests that you can go chase. There is, like, you can play the market. You can do all these things. I am nowhere near the end of the campaign. Like, nowhere near. And I've been playing nonstop through open beta and obviously when it went live. And I don't foresee myself not playing it anymore. Now, there are a certain amount of ships that you can unlock as you go, and you can get those pretty quick. But the nice thing about this game is you progress based off of your gameplay. So if you like being a tank, you'll stick with the tank ships. Or you'll be a DPS ship, or a heal. Like Rita likes being a healer, so she's doing healing. Like, so you can play that way. But I think some people haven't looked at it that way. They've looked at, well, I've unlocked this ship, now I've unlocked that ship, now I've unlocked, and that's like their progression, and that's not necessarily how they meant it to be. So,
Gotcha.
Anyway,
Gotcha.
Skull and Bones, in my opinion, worth it to look at. It's a live service game too, and to be honest with you, right now, only half of the map that is mapped is open right now, so they're going to have a whole nother map that they're going to open up, and if you zoom the map out, there's a whole, like, the outer border is completely empty. So there's a lot that's in the future probably going to be coming. And it's a Ubisoft title. I don't care what nobody says. Ubisoft is great at, like, NPC to player interaction and just, like, that kind of storytelling, too, so I love it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, cool. I've enjoyed watching you stream it. I'm probably going to check it out at some point when I get a disk space issue resolved, but yeah, it's been fun.
Fair.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
So do you want to do one of the Hapa's rules? You want to pick one of the ones?
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about it a little bit.
I could probably do 3 or 4 because it won't go that long. Some of them are very simple. What Seven and I had talked about over the last few episodes, because I have a list of rules that I kind of try to live by. And it's right now it was 75. I added one yesterday. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie. Have you seen the movie The Judge? It's Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall.
Don't think so.
You should watch that. It's a damn good movie.
Okay.
Damn
Okay.
good movie. Robert Downey Jr., I mean, he's an awesome dramatic act.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Robert Duvall, awesome actor as well. Anyway, there's a line in there Robert Duvall says to his sons, and this kind of punched me in my heart because what he said was, you live, you die, it's what you do in between that matters.
Yep.
It's like,
I like that one.
Because Robert Duvall, he's getting old and he's nearing the end of his life, and they're having a conversation about it. He's like, you're gonna die soon. He's like, you live, you die. It's what you do in between that matters. That's what matters, right? So anyway, but these rules are kind of rules we live by. So Simon and I kind of talked about it, and he was like, would you be interested in talking about how you came about some of these rules? And I said, yeah, there's actually stories through a lot of these that I've added in. In the first few, that's very simple. The first rule was work hard, stay humble. You might see there's a sign right here on my back wall right there that says, work hard, stay humble. Now, when I bought this sign from a vendor in Bali. And all this vendor's shop was signs. He just made signs with stuff on it. The guy didn't speak a lick of English, but he understood when he put words together like this, work hard, stay humble, what it meant. And that resonated with me because I was on deployment at the time. And one of my things as a leader was you need to be humble. You need to be humble. In other words, if I'm a leader, I don't know everything. It's okay for me to learn with my kids, quote unquote, like while they learn, I can learn. I can learn from them,
Sure.
they can learn from me, kind of thing. That's stay humble.
Yep.
But that work hard, stay humble was big for me because in the military, you see a lot of leaders that don't have a humble bone in their body, and they just think they're God's gift to the world. And a lot of time
Sure.
that nips them in the bud, and you don't get a lot of respect when you're not a humble leader. So, but yeah. We're all different. That's okay was my second role. That literally came from the military too. The military is a perfect like snapshot of hodgepodge of the country, right? Because you literally have kids that joined from Greenbow, Alabama, all the way up to Los Angeles, California, right? And a lot of you like that, right? Yeah, I do. You like it.
I like the Forrest Gump reference.
Yeah.
In there, yes.
Is that even a place? I don't even.
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
That's how you know it was a Forrest Gump reference, because in Forrest Gump they actually made up a little tiny town. For some reason, there's like 1,000.
There's a million to pick from, probably.
Right, but they went and be like, no, we're gonna make one up. Which so Greenbow, Alabama. Yep, absolutely, love it.
But the thing I loved about the military is I met people that they never saw a mountain until they joined the military. Like there's people from the Midwest that never seen a mountain. Right? I knew people that never seen a African American person or a Hispanic person until they joined the military. Like, so and that reality to some of those kids isn't racism. It's just they didn't know. They'd never seen it, and all they know is the TV until they start talking to these folks and realize, oh, we're the same thing. Either offer kindness or move along was something that it was instilled on me from day one. Like my parents, like always offer kindness. Just be kind. Like be kind to each other. You can't go wrong with that, right? And then hold the door. It's gonna sound stupid, but it's always been something that, along with offer kindness or move along. But then hold the door obviously is a reference to Game of Thrones, right? The hold the door, hold the door, hold the door. but but yeah. Anyway. But yeah, so we'll just do 4 at a time, I suppose, for that breakdown. So.
Awesome. Yeah, the work hard, and so I'm gonna go back through these real quick. So you said work hard and stay humble. I think that's an interesting one for me. I had a coach who would say, if you ever want to learn to win, you got to learn to lose. Right,
100%.
and the only way to learn to lose is to work hard and stay humble. And I'll never forget. I played a show one time. And, I'd played in front of pretty big crowds. I'd played in front of fairly empty rooms. But this particular show I had high hopes for. And we were in a different town. And, it was the first time we played in this town. And there were 4 people in the room, right? And there was almost no one there. And so I was backstage in a set break. And I was frustrated. And we gave a hell of a show for the first set. And I was in the back. And there was this guy, this old blues hand, right? And he said, son, if you can't play an empty room, you don't deserve a full one. And
boom,
that has stuck. Right, that has stuck with me my entire life now, which is like, holy crap, that's right. It's about what you do and what you can control and what you bring to the world, and work hard, stay humble. The rest has got to take care of the rest, right? And you let that take care of that. So I think I love work hard, stay humble. We're all different. That's okay. There was an interesting moment in my life where I was talking about, it kind of struck me with the level of privilege a straight white dude has. Right, that you don't always realize that. And I was talking to a friend, and it kind of got brought to my attention that I had not had the same experience as they had, and it was pretty humbling for me. And we are all different, and that's what makes us good, right? That's what makes us better, and that's okay. So I love that you've got that one in there. Either offer kindness or move along, right? That's great, love it. And then hold the door, right? Like it's just a small thing. It's legitimately a small thing where. But a little niceness out in the world. Why not?
You never know. So the person you hold the door open for, they may have needed that little kind gesture. Like you never know. Just how people are nowadays, So yeah.
Never know.
Real simple things. Like I said, my rules typically aren't they aren't this like awe-inspiring like level of Greek wisdom that you might have from but it's just simple ways to live, to try to be.
I love it, man. This is the stuff I love. Right? I love this kind of stuff. So appreciate you sharing those, and then going back through them and having a little bit of conversation about each other. So,
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
so Hapa, that I think kind of wraps us
up?
up for this. I think we are. I think we are to the wrap up point.
So today's the
I will say
13th.
It is indeed the 13th. Yes. Are you looking for the date for the next one? The 27th. Yeah. So yeah, the 27th. If you want to catch us live, this will probably be published to the Podcastiverse sometimes this weekend. There's a reason it takes a little bit of time. We do remix and master these before they go out to podcast. If you ever want to catch us live, you can do that on YouTube. Search for Real Talk, REEL Talk with Hapa and 7. I usually just search for Real Talk with Hapa. That will get you there. You don't have to figure out how to spell my name. It's okay. I'll forgive you. But HAPA, Real Talk with Hapa, and you'll get there. Come watch us on YouTube. We got some really great chat, over the past few podcasts. It's increased, and I really, really enjoy reading people's reactions to what we're saying. We do take some of that and we make more conversations out of it. So I like that. Yeah. You can find the podcast basically, Hapa, you tell me, but it's basically anywhere you get podcasts, right? So like all over the place.
We're everywhere. We're literally everywhere. We're on Apple. We're on Google. We're on Spotify. We're on. God, there's a couple that added us to that it was like free edition that I don't even remember the names of, unfortunately. But I'm going to guess the majority of people are probably going to listen on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Like, that's probably going to be the majority of them. At some point, we may migrate our content specifically to Spotify because Spotify is just better in general for podcasts, it seems like, than other apps. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Spotify's been investing a lot in it. Uncle Joe Rogan has been talking to us a lot about that, at the family dinners and stuff. So a
lot of great mentoring going on there.
Yeah, but so you can find us if you want to watch us on YouTube. You can find the podcast there. You can find the podcast everywhere you want to go. Hapa, where can people find you outside of the podcast? Because you are an active social butterfly on the internet. So where can people find you?
I'm all over there, man. I mean, the HAPA_FODDER, you'll find me. If you Google it, you'll probably find all of my content from Instagram to Twitter to Facebook to Twitch, whatever the case may be. No, there's no OnlyFans. I know you're all disappointed for that. And there's no Feet Finder as well, even though somebody thinks I have amazing feet. Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
There's a thing called Feet today.
Bro, if you ever have to ask, is there a thing? There is probably a thing.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, with me, it's S3VYN. That has been a moniker I've gone by for a long time, so you can probably find me anywhere. If you just want to find me on the internet, VII.TV will do it. You can always find me on Twitch, and I hang out there occasionally, less than I used to, but still more than I probably should. There is, however, a thing that we've been doing lately. We're going to do Saturday again, which is I've been streaming story games with my wife. Those have been a hilarious amount of fun. The games are going to get more complex. They're going to get more complex, and she's going to be put on the spot more. And so you'll be able to find us there. So, yeah, I'm excited about the fact that we've got 2 podcasts in a row on schedule, and now we're looking at the 20th, not the 20th.
27th.
27th.
No, it's 20th.
Looking at the 27th.
Yeah,
so 2 weeks. Sorry. 2 weeks from tonight. We're looking at doing the live podcast again, which probably means 2 weeks from this weekend, you'll have the actual recorded podcast ready to go. Also, if you have ideas, we've been talking about doing some variety style podcasts where we talk about historical events or some other things. So if you have ideas, feel free to leave a comment. Feel free to hit us on Twitter. Any way that you want to get in touch with us, we will consider those. We will talk about them. We're just a couple of idiots having fun talking to each other and hanging out. So we will probably talk about some idiot stuff at some point.
Pretty much. We definitely don't take ourselves seriously by any means, by the way. A lot of the stuff we talk about, we might come from an area, a bit of authority, but I definitely don't consider myself like an expert on a lot of the stuff I talk about, at least. 7 probably could be a bit more of an expert on a lot of that stuff, but, I'm more of the idiot
There's a couple of things I feel good about. But I'm very familiar with Dunning-Kruger, and we were talking about this the other day with Dunning-Kruger, yeah. Right? Where if you know a little bit about, so Dunning-Kruger is a thing, and if what it is, right? It's psychologists talk about it. It's a fallacy. Yeah. And it's basically Dunning-Kruger is if you know a little bit about something, you think you know everything there is to know. And how many people have you known that have fallen into that? I know a little bit about a subject, therefore I know everything in the world about it. But the
do you know who I think I am?
You have any idea who I think I am? But the people who actually know a lot about subject, like the real experts in things like physics,
Yeah.
generally will not say to you, I'm an expert in physics. They will say,
Yeah.
physics is tough and there's an entire world I know nothing about.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
the first semester physics student is like, I know everything there is to know, but I'm a
Oh
physicist.
my
I'm all
gosh.
about physics, right? So
Work hard, stay
Dunning-Kruger in
humble.
full effect. Work hard, stay humble. I will try. Have fun. I will try.
Well, anyways, I think that's us done for the evening, folks. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week and a great weekend if we don't chat at you before then. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, laugh, smile, make someone else laugh and smile. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your evening. Appreciate the hell out of all of you. Please, please, please hit the like button, do the review thing on Spotify and Apple and YouTube, and make the comments and algorithm and blah, 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 and do the thing. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
See you later, everybody.